This is Christopher John Bjerknes. It is October 30th, 2025. One of my most important insights and new theories that I'm presenting in my book, Satan's Chosen People, which you can get at CJBbooks.com and directly on Amazon.com, is the fact that the 10 plagues of Egypt are all symbolic. They are metaphors. And the animals, the bad weather, the darkness, the plagues of locusts and frogs and gnats and lice, and the plague of the avenging angel of the Lord killing the firstborn are all analogs, symbols representing what the enemy itself does. For example, the croaking of the frogs is the enemy subverting the government, subverting the public, crying out for revolution, decrying its oppression, subverting the civil order, protesting, whining, relentlessly complaining, degrading the native population, degrading the government of the nation. That is what the croaking of the frogs symbolizes. The frogs being tossed into ovens literally symbolizes the plan for the Holocaust, which exists within the book of Exodus. And the reason why they wanted to bring about the Holocaust is so that as the frogs, they can croak about it and complain about it to create civil unrest, to destroy societies from within, to commit genocide against the indigenous peoples of every nation on earth, to bring those nations down through parasitic actions. And when the host nation has been drained of all its blood, to steal the wealth of that host nation and to have the government of the host nation force out the enemy in an exodus, and then to create enemies for the host nation that destroy the host nation in the Red Sea as it chases the destructive enemy out of the country. One of the purposes of the 10 plagues is to demonstrate that the parasitic enemy is unbearable, insufferable, repugnant, obnoxious, dangerous, genocidal, murderous, deceitful, treacherous, subversive, and is constantly waging war against the nation. So they have an incentive and have always throughout history informed the public that they are an enemy of the public. They themselves generate anti-Semitism in order to force the hand of the host people to chase them out, but they always lead them into a trap when they chase them out. I call it the Red Sea trap. So they engage in all kinds of vicious behavior. They inflict 10 plagues upon every nation that they infiltrate, every nation that they invade, that they emigrate to. The whole book of Exodus in relation to the 10 plagues is a war manual, how to engage in a perpetual war upon every nation into which the enemy invades, pervades, permeates, becomes a presence in. And each one of the plagues is a lesson on how to destroy the enemy, how to kill off its leadership, how to bring famine upon the people so that they will sell themselves into slavery for food, how to engage in usury, how to destroy crops, how to create enemies for the nation and bring those enemies, those foreign enemies, against the nation to destroy it. And I'm going to show you in their primary religious literature where it explains exactly what I have just said, that it is all mythological in terms of there being actual frogs or locusts or gnats or an avenging angel or a plague of darkness, that those are all coded symbols representing real action that the enemy is supposed to take to defeat and destroy and consume every host nation on earth, not just the Egyptians. So it is presented as if a fabled story of these plagues of bad weather and animals and an avenging angel and destructive natural and supernatural phenomena, to cover the fact that it was actually the enemy itself, the Hebrews themselves, who believed they had done these very things to the Egyptians through their own actions. It was not some supernatural divine magic of Moses. They know that. They know that they encrypted their stories in that way, both to intimidate peoples, to make them believe that they have a supernatural power, divine abilities to do bad mojo, impose black magic on people and kill them off. But it is really for themselves. They understand that that's not what they claim occurred. What they claim occurred is that they themselves, as a people, brought about all of these destructive, catastrophic calamities upon the Egyptians, and they are not only supposed to do these 10 things to the Egyptians, but to everyone, and in the end times to do it to the entire earth. And I'm going to show you where they explain that they are to do it to the Edomite Romans, meaning white Europeans, especially to Christians. So the 10 plagues are a code, a playbook, a war manual instructing the Jewish people that they are to destroy the food supply of people, that they are to destroy the leadership of people, that they are to bring foreign enemies against the people. In the case of the plague of the frogs, they are to whine and complain and make noise incessantly to bring about revolution, to create civil disorder, to pit brother against brother. That is what the croaking of the frogs represent. They even call for pogroms to kill Jews so that their rotting corpses raise a horrible stench within the host nation. And that's an extraordinary claim, so I'm going to prove it by quoting them directly where they say exactly that. They want to enter into ovens so that they can be killed in the ovens, as in the Holocaust, so that they can then complain about the Holocaust to make themselves so repugnant to every host nation that all the host nations force them out. And this is ultimately supposed to lead to the ingathering of all the Jews on earth in Israel. It was originally done to create the exile so that they could infiltrate every nation on earth, permeate the entire earth, invade every country, and perpetrate the 10 plagues through their own actions, not through miraculous actions, not through animals, and not through supernatural forces or calamitous bad weather, but by their own doings, impose these 10 plagues on every nation, bring every nation down, and then cause every nation to hate them by revealing some of what they have done so that those nations chase them out and force the ingathering on the descendants of the Hebrews so that they congregate again in Israel and wage a war against the whole earth and kill off all the rest of humanity. And I don't say any of this lightly. I'm going to prove it all by citation, by direct quotations from their primary Judaic ancient literature. So this plan exists in a coded form within the book of Exodus. And again, the frogs aren't frogs. The frogs are the descendants of the Hebrews. The frogs are the enemy. The locusts are the enemy. The avenging angel that kills off the leadership is the enemy. The frogs that enter into the bedchamber are like Epstein, seducing politicians so that they sleep with young girls and can then be extorted and blackmailed into obeying whatever it is that the enemy wants them to do. So when you read or learn in Sunday school about the 10 plagues, it's not really about frogs and locusts and darkness and an avenging angel. It is about the enemy itself entering into a host nation, parasitically consuming that host nation, then informing the host nation of what it has done so that the people and the leadership of that host nation become outraged and hateful of the enemy for all the harms that the enemy has deliberately caused, and force them out in a way that creates foreign enemies for that nation and ultimately causes that nation to be destroyed, consumed from within and consumed from without, to be led into the trap of the Red Sea by Moses. Pharaoh gets led, his army gets led into the Red Sea, where they are consumed and killed off by the Red Sea. So let's have a look at some of what I'm going to be discussing. This is Moshe, good old Moshe, talking to the Pharaoh, threatening the Pharaoh. You got to let him go, Pharaoh, let him go.
Let my people go.
And there is the Jewish Pharaoh, Yul Brynner. So in order to get the Pharaoh to force the Hebrews out, because very often the Hebrews start to assimilate and they become beloved by the people of the host nation. They execute charm and they gain control of the media, and they have comedians to make themselves appear harmless and genteel. And they win over the favor of the host nation. They initially loan lots of gold to Pharaoh and set up a monetary system with usury so that they can ultimately bring the people into famine through plagues, so that the people have to exchange their freedom for slavery, as Joseph did to Pharaoh. But then when they start to assimilate, when they start to intermarry, when they start to lose faith in the God of Israel, when they start to eat at the same table with Gentiles, enter into the Gentile world, dress like Gentiles, and lose their Jewishness, then it's time to let the people go. In other words, to force them out, to generate hatred, to generate anti-Semitism. And they engage in these 10 plagues perpetually to consume the host, to rob the host of all its wealth, to leave it a withered husk, a withered, dying husk. And then when it comes time to reap the harvest and leave, they build up hatreds towards the Jews, towards the descendants of the Hebrews, so that they are then forced. The masses, against their own will, are forced out. They are subject to the test. Are they going to be loyal to the tribe, or are they going to become apostate and leave the tribe? And then when they are forced out, the Hebrews offer gold to another people and make that people the enemy of the host nation. And they lead the host nation into chasing them out straight into a trap, just the way that Hitler got led into the Red Sea of the Red Soviet Union and then got consumed by the Red Sea of the Soviet Red Army and destroyed. And that's what's happening to America and to Russia today. They want to let the people go, to force the government and the people to become anti-Semitic. They are helping to expose how they have imposed these 10 plagues on America and the world so that the whole world turns against them and forces them out, but is led into a trap because all the leaders of all the governments are subverted by them and are going to get us all killed in a mutually destructive thermonuclear war. And that's precisely what's going on. So I'm going to explain all that. I'm going to quote the fact that they say that the stories of the 10 plagues are just symbolic, and they are instructions. They are a war manual on teaching the enemy how to behave in every nation, not just in Egypt, to bring them all down, to destroy them from within and without, and then move on to the next host nation. But ultimately, in the end times, in the apocalypse, in the battle of Gog and Magog, to impose the 10 plagues on the entire earth all at once, to force the ingathering into Israel, to force a war between Israel against the entire world, and then to get the entire world killed off in a mutually destructive, mutually consuming war that will leave only the enemy standing in the end times. And I'm going to quote to you from the Midrash that says everything that I just said. And now that you understand the code, I'm going to read to you some of the passages from Exodus, which explain all of this, and how even Albert Einstein, the supposed great genius of the 20th century, said that they require this oppression as a stimulus so that they do not assimilate and so that they are forced into segregation. Einstein was a Zionist, and he wanted to assist and move along the ingathering in Palestine. He encouraged Nazism. He said, why don't we just let the Goy keep his anti-Semitism while we preserve our love for the likes of our own? I'm going to talk about how this very fact that Exodus discusses the plague of the frogs being thrown into the ovens actually means that the frogs are the Jews, and the Jews have to be thrown into the ovens in the Holocaust, and they had a plan for the Holocaust going back thousands of years. And I'm going to show their plan once again of how they called for a Hitler, Haman, to come in and do this to the Jewish people, and talk about how it relates to Potiphar and Joseph, and what all of these plagues individually mean: blood, frogs, lice, gnats, fleas, livestock, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, death of the firstborn. So you don't want to miss any of that. To see the rest of my presentation, you will need to get a paid subscription at CJBbooks.substack.com. Please also do visit my website, CJBbooks.com, and pick up my latest book, Satan's Chosen People. I have the citations in the book. I explain it very thoroughly in the appropriate context in my book. I have all the links to what I'm going to be showing you and much more. The book is much more thorough than what I'm going to be showing today. So if you want to see the rest of my presentation, please do yourself a favor and get a paid subscription at CJBbooks.substack.com. It's very inexpensive, and you will have access not only to the rest of this presentation, but all of my full presentations. I'm now going to switch over to my paid subscribers. I want to thank everyone for watching to this point at a minimum. So, in the Midrash, Tanhuma, Bo, number 4, it explains what I just explained, that